Meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, to be held December 15, 2020 at 6 p.m. If we could please have our virtual clerk take the roll.
Councilmember Henry?
Here.
Councilmember Hulse?
Here.
Councilmember Curott?
Here.
Councilmember Naren? Absent. Councilmember Wilden?
Here.
Vice Mayor Matthews?
Here.
Mayor Alinsky?
Here. Thank you. All right, please stand and join us in the pledge. Okay, next is a brief summary of current events by Mayor, City Council, and/or City Manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during the summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Do we have any council members with anything to report this evening? Quiet week? All right. Well, I'll just say quickly, we did have our strategic planning retreat at the end of last week, Thursday and Friday. We heard from multiple community stakeholders, nonprofits, teachers, medical professionals, entrepreneurs. It was really a great retreat. I hope our newest council member enjoyed it. Good. And then second day, we went into the meat of our retreat and came up with a lot of really great, very achievable action items to task our manager with. So anyway, looking forward, all of us are looking forward to a more prosperous, even-keeled 2021. Mr. Manager, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. I just have one announcement today, and it's the Chamber of Commerce, our Cottonwood Chamber of Commerce delivered 1 pallet of disposable masks and 1 pallet of hand sanitizers, over 6,000 masks and over 550 bottles of hand sanitizer to the City of Cottonwood's Administrative Services Building. The PPE was sourced through Yavapai County Community Health Services, free of charge, in an effort to spread those supplies throughout the community. A huge shout out to Christian Oliva Del Rio at the Chamber for initiating conversations with the city and personally delivering the supplies. The Chamber plans to continue to acquire supplies and distribute to any local businesses who can benefit from free masks and hand sanitizers.
Great, thank you, and thanks to the Chamber. That's great. All right, moving on, we have the monthly financial report. This is the finance report for the first quarter of fiscal year 2021. And again, this is a new thing that we've council's asked for, and it's just in our packets for information and of course available to the public for viewing.
Mayor and Council, the report is actually a really good report. We're only doing about 67% of our expenditures versus our revenues. That means that we've been bringing in we've brought in as of September, because our sales tax always lags way behind. In September of 2020, we were doing about 12.2 million in revenues, and we've only used up 8.3 in expenditures. So we're doing relatively well. Outside of that, the format is something that we're always concerned with. I think it's pretty fairly self-explanatory. As you go and review this at your leisure, please, if you have any comments or questions or would like to make any changes, please refer them over to Kirsten Lennon, who puts this report together, so she can go ahead and make some modifications. But overall, I think it's fairly self-explanatory. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to field them for her.
Any questions for the Deputy City Manager? All right, good work, Rudy, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is our consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda. We have 2 items tonight. The first item is award of bid and approval of contract with Copper State Paving and Construction, LLC, for the construction of the Riverfront Pedestrian Trail Project. Item 2 is resolution number 3077, appointing Joyce Oswald, a member of the city's personnel board. Is there an item that a council member would like to have pulled? No. All right. I'll go ahead and motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Holst seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda is approved. And again, if we could ask our virtual clerk to read resolution number 3077 by title only.
Resolution number 3077, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, appointing Joyce Oswald a member of the city's Personnel Board and establishing her term of office. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right, next we have new business. The following items are for council discussion, consideration, and possible legal action. Up first tonight is ordinance number 691, annexing certain territory contiguous to the city limits of the city of Cottonwood pursuant to the provisions of ARS 9-471, including approximately 11 sections of federal Forest Service land and 280 acres of private land known as Spring Creek Ranch. And this is the first reading.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Scott Ellis, Community Development Director. As you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, this is a first reading of ordinance number 691, which is a proposed annexation of the Spring Creek Ranch area, consisting of approximately 280 acres of the private land, and then, as you mentioned, the approximately 11 acres of Forest Service land. There is a small 15-lot subdivision associated with this annexation. It is undeveloped. It's something that was approved in the county, but bringing it over doesn't mean anything for the city as far as moving forward. There's no approvals coming over with it. As it sits today, it's just vacant parcels, and that's how it would be treated in the city. A brief history of it. Sorry, we're a little bit behind on the slides here because technical issues. Back in September, we filed blank petitions with the county recorder as required, started a 30-day waiting period. October, we held the required public hearing in the last 10 days of that waiting period. Then that expired, which then allowed us to go collect signatures from the property owners. We did receive those signatures that exceeded the 50% and the valuation that exceeded that as well to move forward and bring a proposed annexation ordinance to the council. We did file those petitions with the county recorder as required and the city clerk. The county recorder did get the original signatures, which then allows us to bring this here today for a first reading. The next steps for this would be a second reading of the ordinance and also establishing the zoning. Right now, we're looking at doing the GA zoning, which is our general agricultural zone, 5-acre minimum lot size, development standards associated with that. We are required to do something that is as close to what the county has as possible. That is what we have that's closest right now. The zoning in the county is minimum 2-acre zoning. So that's why we're going down that route. We're looking to bring that to you at the second meeting in January, I believe is on the 19th city council meeting. The reason we're doing that is there is some questions with the property owners of potentially allowing the county zoning to continue for up to 6 months. That is allowed by statute. So we're gonna have that quick conversation with them before we come to the second reading. Any questions, comments, concerns from council?
Questions from council for staff at this time? All right, very good. So this is a public hearing. This is the first reading. We are obviously meeting both in person, and folks are able to log into this meeting and ask questions via the GoTo meeting platform. So please bear with us as we work through this. I know we have folks here in the public that may want to address council. I've gotten one slip up here, and there's slips available if there's anybody else in the public this evening that would like to address council as well, excuse me, as well as on GoTo. So why don't we go ahead and take our public hearing comments right now, and then we'll have a discussion afterwards. Okay, so I'd like to start with the folks that are in the room, and we are going to limit comments to 3 minutes this evening. And before we start with Ms. Ratner, I'd like the folks who are watching online right now to, if you would like to comment, you're encouraged to. What we're asking you to do is to enter your name into the comment section on the GoTo platform, and that will alert Sandra Salas, who's sitting behind us here, that you would like to speak. And so if you could cue yourself up in that manner, that would be very helpful for us, and then Sandra will unmute you, and then you'll be able to address council. Again, just enter your name in the comment tab, please. And with that, Ms. Ratner, you have the floor, and you have a 3-minute time period. Thank you for being here this evening.
First, I'd like to ask whether Cottonwood received Valley sent with 165 signatures against Spring Creek Ranch. I want to verify that you received that. Also, I believe today Susanna Hart emailed you a 3,500-person petition against Spring Creek Ranch. So I just want to verify that you received those two because they were sent to you. I want to make you aware that Eric Borowski at the December 19th, 2019 hearing of the county said that he is not paying for anything. He's not paying for roads or sewer or anything. What is the point of this meeting if this is the case, if what you're doing here can be amended? If you're going to say that the developer has to pay for certain things, I was told today when I called the city of Cottonwood that can be renegotiated with the developer, and I don't really understand why you're devoting a meeting to ordinances and things that you want to do if this can be amended. If Cottonwood pays for the things that the Borowskis want them to pay for, it cuts into your profit. If the resolution is changed, I don't understand the point of the resolution. The amount of people in this room is much less than it should be. A lot of people are experiencing battle fatigue from a year of fighting Spring Creek Ranch. Other people are tired and they feel that Cottonwood will do the right thing, and I hope that they will not. I hope that Cottonwood will not put up thousands and thousands of homes because it will wreck it here for everybody. I don't feel it's right that that there's a long-distance call in order to participate telephone-wise, because a lot of people here do not have long-distance telephone service, and other people like myself, I get migraines from Wi-Fi, so I had to disconnect my internet service. There's a lot of people like me who moved here a long time ago because we're sensitive. So there's a lot more people who would like to participate but can't. I think that I just want to make sure that you did receive all of these letters that were sent by my community and by Susanna Hart with petitions against Spring Creek Ranch. And I want to make you aware that the developers announced publicly that they are not paying for roads, they are not paying for sewers, they are not paying for anything. They announced that at the December 19th hearing. So you should be cautioned, because last night I was told that Lisa Borowski at the debate said that she was going to cancel the development of Spring Creek Ranch through the county because my community, which is Oak Creek Valley, which is a mile away from Spring Creek Ranch, did not approve of it. And she didn't say that at the time she was negotiating with the city of Cottonwood. So these are not above the board developers. You really have to be careful that you're going to get what you think you're going to get, because otherwise you're going to be stuck with a lot of bills. And I just want to say that to you in advance.
Thank you, Ms. Ratner. Appreciate you being here this evening. And I didn't mention it, but we're going to be taking notes of all the questions that are asked. So really your 3 minutes, if you do have questions, you're more than welcome to ask them, but we'll respond to your questions at the end of the public hearing. Okay. All right, so I don't see anyone else here this evening that would like to address council, and if you'd like to, you can certainly raise your hand, and we'll get a yellow form from you later. But let's go ahead and, excuse me, and do you have a list of folks that are queued up for, okay. And also, for the folks who are calling in by GoTo, if you could just indicate your place of residence too, we would appreciate that. Very good. Mr. Swanson, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. We can't see you, but we can hear you. We're working on that.
Alrighty. It's wanting me to open my system preferences to get the camera, so I'll just speak. My name is Craig Swanson. I live in West Sedona. Cottonwood held an initial meeting on the annexation of Spring Creek Ranch this past August 18th. The entire first 20 minutes of the discussion focused instead on how Cottonwood can position itself to annex the state land trust land on either side of Highway 89A. We learned that in order to annex trust land, Cottonwood must demonstrate a way to increase the land's value. City leaders noted that previous attempts at annexation were denied because of this. The city then noted that annexing Spring Creek Ranch and developing a centralized water and sewer system is one way to demonstrate increased value of the land trust land. The goal is to add value at very little cost to the city in order to pave the way for annexation of trust land. In that August 18th meeting, after comments by the developer and by concerned citizens, the conversation again focused on annexation of the trust land. However, the public notification for this meeting tonight states the meeting will include an agenda item for discussion, consideration, and first reading of a proposed ordinance annexing the Spring Creek Ranch property. We need to be very clear here. This discussion tonight is not fundamentally about annexing Spring Creek Ranch. It's about annexing and developing the state land trust land. Annexation of Spring Creek Ranch is simply a means to an end. The gerrymandered shape of the land to be annexed proves this out. To reach Spring Creek Ranch, the land you propose to annex goes north almost 4 miles, then extends east nearly 4 miles, and finally comes back south over 3.5 miles in order to include all of Spring Creek Ranch. Just think, if the developer in Sedona had proposed annexing similar gerrymandered U-shaped parcel of land in order to reach Spring Creek Ranch, I suspect you would all be up in arms about this. Much was made in the August 18th session about the need to prevent this land from being developed in a way that proliferates individual septic systems. This is a laudable goal, but I'd like to suggest another way to help meet that goal. Yavapai County is beginning the process of updating its comprehensive plan. The city should engage the county in that process to make sure that all major developments are required by the Yavapai County Comprehensive Plan to include centralized water and sewer. Cottonwood doesn't need to annex Spring Creek Ranch in order to help guarantee that state land trust land in Yavapai County is developed responsibly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swanson. Mr. Bonk, are you with us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Hello. Great, thank you. Thomas Bonk, Rimrock. Touch on a couple issues. I want to be quick. In your notification, under justifications, benefits, and issues, it says annexation and rezoning would allow for development of additional housing and visitor accommodations. I'm sorry, the development of additional housing does not require annexation by the city. Spring Creek Ranch is already zoned for housing. Your statement for justification also water and sewer facilities built to serve SCR would potentially become part of a larger public utility system. I'm sorry. Spring Creek Ranch is not going to build a water and sewer facilities large enough to accommodate future development. The city's still going to have to build new facilities to service an area in the state land trust. There's no financial benefit there. Moving on to your general plan 2025, the goal under your growth part, goal number 3-2, promote regional land use planning in coordination with neighborhood communities. To my knowledge, there has not been any activity done to work with neighboring communities. Under objective 3-8, require a pre-annexation agreement for any new development project wishing to be annexed into the city. Where is this pre-annexation development agreement? It's not been shared with the public, and I don't even think it's been made. Getting on to just a legal issue, the guide for annexation prepared by the League of Arizona Cities and Towns. In a case where two tracts which have been annexed under one ordinance went to an Arizona court, the legality of annexing two tracts with one ordinance was not questioned. However, the court did confirm that tracts must both be contiguous to the annexing municipality. In other words, the fact that one tract was contiguous did not constitute contiguality for both tracts. Now, the state uses tracts in such a way to define a contiguous area by owner, by land use, or even subdivision. Spring Creek Ranch Phase 1 is a legally defined subdivision. It is a separate tract by ownership.
Mr. Mayor, that's 3
by
minutes.
land use.
The bell's not
and
working,
by
but that's been 3 minutes.
Spring Creek Ranch does not independently meet the congruity requirements set forth under ARS. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonk. Appreciate it. All right, Mr. Rothrock, can you hear us?
Okay.
We can hear you, sir, if you can hear us.
Great. Should I begin?
You're in, and we can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Cool. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm a 40-year resident of Cottonwood, former council member and retired Cottonwood Oak Creek School District teacher. Let's not annex Spring Creek Ranch. Here's why. Our surface and groundwater levels are declining. A presenter at the previous meeting on October 22nd provided you with a graph produced by the Nature Conservancy that shows 30 and 40% declines in Verde River base flows during the past 30 years. This is due to groundwater that would have reached the river being captured by wells. In regard to groundwater, the Arizona Department of Water Resources, in a 2014 report entitled Strategic Vision for Water Resources Sustainability, stated the problem this way, quote, water levels historically have declined in many areas of the central portion of the planning area, which is the Verde Valley. Near Cottonwood and Clarkdale, water levels declined by 20 to 40 feet or more in many wells. The water levels declines in this area are generally due to increased municipal and industrial pumping, end quote. Cottonwood is doing a good job of protecting the water we still have. We are pumping and leaking less. Our general plan has detailed methods for increased conservation. I recently listened to the mayor talk about the Verde on the Friends of the Verde River website. He shared a desire to protect the river and stay vigilant and focused. Let's focus on how we can implement those increased conservation measures. Let's be vigilant about how our wells perform after the 4 subdivisions presently being constructed are fully built. It appears they are already at a lower level where more arsenic occurs. Let's be certain we don't exceed the carrying capacity of our whole region while reckoning with an already 20-year drought. How long will it last? If we could ask the Anasazi, we might not like the answer. Finally, let's not delude ourselves that we can keep our small town character if we hasten the development of the 10 square miles of state trust land that this annexation would encircle. Verde Valley residents like living in small towns. We see folks we know in the post office and grocery store. If the 10 square miles become Anthem North, this will no longer be the case. Our small town will be transformed. The likelihood of Spring Creek and ultimately the Verde dying the death of 1,000 cuts greatly increases. I'll close with a Native American quote. Make your decisions on behalf of the 7 generations coming so that they may enjoy what you have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rothrock. Mr. Jim Collins, you're up next. Can you hear us okay?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, I really don't have anything planned because I'm just coming out of a recent surgery, so I didn't get much chance to do research. But I just want to back up what the people have said so far. That people do not want this annexation, and they do not want this development of Spring Creek Ranch. I don't know if you could poll everybody that's attending this meeting, either online or in person, but I'm sure the numbers are going to be huge against this development. I think if you polled the people of Cottonwood, you'd find the same thing. These are the people that elected you. Why are you putting them through this when it's something they don't want to have? It's not in their best interest to see this. As Mr. Rothrock stated here just a minute ago, that people move to this area, including myself. I've been here for almost 20 years. We moved to this area because we love the opportunity to have open space, small town feel. I live in Cornville. You're going to destroy Cornville by starting this annexation. Spring Creek Ranch is just the antithesis of what Cornville is. We do not want that. There's no way that you're going to have the public support to do this annexation. I would be wise for you to go out and poll the public before you do annex this property and find out, what the people really think. I think they will be against you. So I just wanted to get my 2 cents worth in. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. I appreciate it. Again, folks, if you're watching online, you can comment virtually. If you just enter your name in the comments tab, then Sandra Salas will queue you up to speak, and you can address the council. I'm sorry? Janet Aniol, is that right? Ma'am, are you with us? Can you hear us okay? Ms. Aniol, can you hear us and are you able to speak? While she's waiting to get on, I'm going to go ahead and read this letter that we received, in fact, from Janet Aniol. She's one of the authors of this letter. So it comes from the Beaver Creek Community Association. It says, Dear Mayor Linsky, council members, and city staff, BCCA is opposed to the annexation of Spring Creek Ranch. This action is in violation of both your general plan and our community vision. Your current plan states that each of the surrounding communities has their own distinct identity, history, traditions, and sense of purpose for their own future self-determination. Questions about how Cottonwood plans for its growth are considered in terms of the interrelationship of these communities, as well as critical internal needs. It is disappointing to us that the unincorporated communities, ours has a population of 6,000 plus, have not been directly asked for input on a major land use change which will affect the whole Verde Valley. Such potential major density changes would negatively affect quality of life, create a major increase in traffic, create excessive impact on riparian areas, and lead to groundwater depletion issues. We oppose the request for annexation of Spring Creek Ranch by Cottonwood. Land use in the Spring Creek Ranch area needs to be addressed as a regional issue. Since we have all started on updating the Yavapai County General Plan, this may be the ideal time to discuss this particular action. Please meet with representatives from the unincorporated communities. We have information and experiences to share and some of the best minds in the Verde Valley. We urge you to take no action without discussing this further and including us. We look forward to meeting with your representatives. And signed respectfully, again, Janet Aniol, the president of the Beaver Creek Community Association, and the board, Sharon Olson, Nancy Rowland, Bob Burke, Mike Nelson, and Jim Andrus. Mr. Donahue, can you hear us? You are welcome to address the council.
Yes, thank you.
We can hear you,
I
sir.
would like to make comments in opposition to ordinance and resolution 3078. It is irresponsible to taxpayers to assume liability for 5,000 plus acres of land to annex 280 acres separated by miles from the city proper. The annexation of the area up to Belgrade Road, a previous annexation, was probably illegal due to failure by the process to include the Forest Service. The small number of residents of that annexation were largely opposed to it, but were bulldozed by the city and the developer. Residents have not received city services, and building permits in the area are held up by lack of promised sewer hookups. We have a very needed building that is being held up out on 89 because the promised sewer hookup has never been provided. It is irresponsible to approve levels of infrastructure and services to this area when the previously annexed area still has not gotten services promised there. Additionally, it is a slap in the face to our neighbors in Cornville, where the land is actually located, and to Yavapai County to be considering this, which both have previously disapproved. This is a clear case of a developer jurisdiction shopping, and it should be rejected out of hand, out of deference to the people and the community that live there. In addition, I'd like to add that this particular developer is very well known in the Flagstaff area, and he's responsible for a term that's denigrated in Native American circles, and that is don't eat the yellow snow on the snow bowl, because he pushed through, in opposition to every sane amount of advice, the use of sewer water on the snow bowl, and then had to further treat it when it turned out that it was yellow in the snow bowl, and nobody would ski on it. If they did, they were taking their lives in their hands from infection. So we have here a very, very irresponsible developer. And I'd like to thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Donahue. All right, Ms. Borowski, you're welcome to speak. Can you hear us?
I can. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor. Vice Mayor and council members. Thank you for allowing us to discuss this evening and for hearing my comments. I just want to take a short moment to correct one thing that was in Mr. Ellis's presentation. He indicated that the Phase 1 subdivision at Spring Creek Ranch was not yet developed. However, it is a fully developed 15 lots. So while there has not been any ground up construction, the infrastructure is present and fully developed. So I just wanted to make that correction for the record. And I won't address the specifics of the comments that have been made, but I do recognize that water has been brought up a few times. It is our opinion, having worked with the city of Cottonwood, that you have in your employ one of the preeminent water authority and experienced members of the community with Tom Whitmer. So I'm certain he will guide the charge competently in that regard. And in terms of forum shopping, I think we've mentioned this in the past. It was suggested to us by a current Yavapai County Board of Supervisor member that we discuss the potential for annexation with Cottonwood for very good reasons, in that municipalities are so much better situated to support development, i.e. water provision, sewer infrastructure, all of which, to correct one comment that was made, the city has already set forth a 10-year services agreement pursuant to the statute, which has the city paying for none of those improvements, and the developer required to do that being us. Thank you for your time. I'll entertain questions.
Thank you, Ms. Borowski. I'm sure you'll be staying on the line if we do have any questions for you.
Yes.
All right, again, folks, if you would like to comment, if you're logging in virtually, you're welcome to comment by entering your name, please, in the comment tab, and Sandra Salas will queue you up. This is a public hearing, and so we're taking comments from directly from the folks who are either logging in virtually or here present with us. And so, again, you can direct your comments to the council if there's something related to what's in front of us this evening in terms of annexation. We're jotting those questions down, and we'll get back to you. So. Anyone else? All right, so there were a number of questions raised. I'd like to go ahead and just address those. I took notes. I think, Ron, you took notes as well. First up, Ms. Ratner, you asked if City Council received the petitions, and yes, we did. Second question that I have written down was a concern from one of the gentlemen who spoke, asking who will pay for the roads and the infrastructure. And I know that's coming up during this second reading of this item, but Scott, would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you. All of the roads in there are proposed to be private. The city's not looking to take on any responsibility of those roads. The upcoming 10-year plan for council to review indicates that as well. There is a state road running through the state trust land adjacent to there. We do have a copy of an agreement that the state trust land has with the property owner, indicating the property owner will even maintain that road. So those mechanisms are already in place. As far as any of the other infrastructure, again, that 10-year plan will indicate that the city's not looking to take on and put in any of that with whatever development may come about.
So in past development agreements and subdivisions that we've approved, I'm thinking right now of Mesquite Hills, which is still being built out. The city's overseen the installation of their infrastructure, for example, the well that they had to put in to service that subdivision. It's put in at the developer's expense, and then it becomes the property of the city. Isn't that correct?
It's something that can happen. Again, that would be discussed in a development agreement, however long in the future that comes about. I wasn't here on that particular subdivision. I don't know, Mr. Horton may be able to shine some more light on that one.
But typically, I think the point I'm trying to make is typically the city doesn't put the money up front for the infrastructure.
Correct.
Okay. And I'm assuming it would be the same, and that's what is being proposed here, correct?
Correct.
And Ron, you can feel free to butt in here, but there was another question about the contiguous tract annexation. I know that we've looked at that before, whether or not this is a legal annexation. I believe the answer is yes.
Yes, sir.
Can you just give just a little bit more detail to
Yes, sorry.
flesh it
Mr.
out?
Mayor and Council, we have mapped it out, looked at what is required. So the adjacent portion of an annexing area has to be 300 feet along the city's boundary where it starts. And then there's length and width requirements. I do apologize. I always get them confused. I don't have it right in front of me, but the length can't be more than twice the width, or it's the other way around. And this is actually, it gets a little tricky in the statute because there's no definition of what the length is versus what the width is. So the way we came up with this proposal makes, no matter how it's measured, fit into that requirement. And it does include that at least 300 foot contiguous connection to the existing city boundary, and allows us to go up and around the way we are. Again, that subdivision is only approved in the county. We're not asking anything to come in to any city approval. So the way we look at it is it just looks like it's any other property that may be annexed.
And I don't think this was something that just city staff had its eyes on. I believe we had a prominent land use attorney look at this as well, who gave us.
Yes, sir.
I think you need to push the button, Steve, so that we can hear you.
Not staying on. So even the courts have said that the contiguity requirements of the annexation statute can be puzzling in different applications. But we did look at this parcel. We did seek an outside opinion from land use attorneys, and they have concluded that the different proposed configurations that were considered, including the one that's part of this proposal, do meet the requirements of the statute.
Okay. All right. One other question that came up, and this has come up quite a bit, and I think it's an important point that I think is causing a lot of confusion, is the responsibility of public lands. So can you tell us, please, who is still going to be responsible for the National Forest?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council, that will remain under jurisdiction of the Forest Service. We're not looking at coming in, we do have existing Forest Service lands in the city right now. Nothing really changes with that. It just means that they're now within the city limits, but full control, everything stays with the federal government as the jurisdiction in charge.
Those lands will remain open space for the public to enjoy in perpetuity, unless I think there's literally an act of Congress to change that.
And Mr. Mayor, Council, that's true as well. And there is and we did reach out to the Forest Service, and they've expressed no opinion, and that's consistent with their national agency manual on their policies on municipal annexations. They take no position and they cede no jurisdiction when they're annexed.
And I think that's it for the questions that I jotted down. Ron, did you jot down any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, I had a couple others. We were asked, why do a resolution if it can be amended? And I think that's the business and will of the council. We often pass resolutions and then pass different resolutions later on. The key to this is we will do a pre-development agreement at some point when we actually talk about what the development may or may not look like. And so that'll lay out some of these plans. But I worked for this council for 2 years, and we're not paying for infrastructure. If they need us to pay for infrastructure, it's not going to happen. It's just that simple. So even any future amendment to the resolutions, it won't be about that. Could be about a million other things probably, but it won't be about that. If council desires, we can, I asked Tom to monitor the call. So he's on the go-to meeting, Mr. Whitmer, our Utility Natural Resources Director. So if you wanted to hear from Tom on water, he'd be happy to answer any questions or give any explanation. But I think he spoke before about this, and we believe that the water is not a limiting factor in that current development. But really, we'll look more at that when we do a development agreement and the density council ends up permitting or not permitting or however that goes. Water will be a part of that discussion in the future versus the discussion now. Really, it will play a key factor in what staff recommends to council months from now. And then there were some questions at the very end about a promised sewer system. I did receive that email late today saying the same types of things, and I'll just have to get back. It seemed to be around the annexation about Bill Gray Road and stuff, and it was the first time I had heard about anything. As you know, we don't have a sewer system out there, so I'm not sure what commitments were or weren't made, but we'll look into that. I do have that in email form, and I'll look at that.
Council, do we have any questions for Mr. Whitmer? Okay. And I just want to make it clear, too, we received dozens upon dozens of emails, too, from the public. So I just want everyone out there who's watching to know that we did receive those emails as well. And we've combed through all of them. Anyone else queued up? No? Okay. All right, then we'll go ahead and close the floor. And Council, I'll open it up to discussion. You guys are quiet this evening. This is the first reading. This will come back for second reading, at which point we'll vote on this. In the interim, I think there are some open questions that are going to be need to be resolved. One is Ms. Borowski did state that there's infrastructure in place for the 15 lots of the previously approved subdivision that's out there. Again, this is 15 lots, a small section of the 280 acres, which we're looking into annexing. But I would like to get some further clarification on what happens to those lots if we do annex in this property. It's my understanding, and I believe it's the Borowski's understanding, that we will bring this into the, as you stated, Mr. Ellis, the zoning that most closely resembles the underlying zoning from the county, which in our case is going to be 5-acre minimum GA, general agriculture, 5-acre minimum lot size. So that's just an open question on what occurs to those lots where there's already some infrastructure apparently in place.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you. Basically, without coming in with a pre-annexation agreement to address those, which is not what happened in this case, those lots are subject to the development standards of the GA zone, meaning that they would have to be a minimum 5 acres to be developed. So that leaves the option that they combine them to meet that threshold. As far as the infrastructure that's there, if they propose to use it as part of any future development, my understanding that they would have to give us the information and what was approved from the county for our engineer, our water utilities people to look at and make sure it still works for what they want.
All right. Well, again, this is the first reading. There's no action to be taken tonight. We'll take action at a time in the future, probably sometime in January on this.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we're looking at January 19th for the second reading and the first reading for the initial zoning of that area.
Okay. I'll just make a couple comments. I think I understand there was a person in the audience tonight that talked about the fatigue that people are feeling as this proposal has been discussed both at the county level, now at the city level. I think another gentleman spoke to it as jurisdiction shopping. And I understand that, and I'm sensitive to those concerns. I think many folks are reacting strongly to what was proposed prior to the county. And really what we're discussing tonight, again, is just annexing the land. We don't yet know what the Borowskis would like to propose out here. I anticipate it's going to look a bit different than what they had proposed to the county. But at this time, we're talking about annexing them to 5-acre minimum lot size. I will say that Cottonwood has a long history of, at least in the last 20 years, that I've been witnessing firsthand what we've done with subdivisions. I think we have a long history, a good track record of being good stewards of our resources, and of having developments come out of the ground that make good sense, that are good use of space. We have a lot more tools in our toolbox, if you will, to manage growth responsibly. Hillside ordinance comes to mind. That's one of the things that differ us from the county. I think there's many others. And again, with the purchase of the private water company some 20 years back, even with the growth that we've experienced since then, we are pumping less water from the aquifer. It's a priority of mine, it's a priority of council's, I think, and always has been, to be good stewards of our resources. And I expect that it would be the same if this property is annexed, that we would look very strongly at that and make sure that we're not impacting the environment negatively. The fact of the matter is this is private property. There is really very little that we can do to limit someone's ability to develop their own property. And the same is true for those 10 sections of state trust land that at some point will be developed. At some point in the future, we don't know if that's 25 years or 50 years out, but we do know that at some point that land will likely be developed. And I think the question that I have to ask myself, and I'm sure the council asks itself, is within which jurisdiction is that land best suited for development? And currently, I believe that is the city of Cottonwood, which is why I have been always in favor of annexing the state trust land. I too have lived here a while, was born here, have had family here since the Great Depression, and it does pain me to see some of our virgin land torn up for development, as it pains everyone out there. But at the end of the day, I think the best strategy moving forward is to develop that land intelligently. And I believe we are best poised to do that. So, however, this is the first reading. There's going to be plenty more time for folks to engage the council and continue sending in emails. We'll do the same with the second hearing, second reading of this. We'll have it virtually. So another thing I heard today was that we shouldn't be meeting, during this pandemic. I understand that concern. I would argue that when we meet in person, we've made it very safe for the public to come in. We're keeping separation. Folks are wearing masks in the audience. And I don't think there's ever been more ways to engage the council. We've tried to work on these virtual platforms as well. We are receiving all the emails that come in. So this council has really not slowed down. Not just on this issue, but on any issue that's come up. We've tasked ourselves and our management team with continuing to move forward on behalf of our citizens. So I would just encourage everyone out there to please use all the means that you can to reach out to us. We are listening. And with that, we'll move on. And I would ask our clerk, please, to read ordinance number 691 by title only.
Ordinance number 691, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, annexing certain territory contiguous to the city limits of the city of Cottonwood pursuant to the provisions of Arizona Revised Statute 9-471, including approximately 11 sections of federal Forest Service land and 280 acres of private land known as Spring Creek Ranch. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Next item is resolution number 3078, approving a policy to provide appropriate levels of infrastructure and services to approximately 280 acres proposed to be annexed by the city of Cottonwood or under ordinance number 691. Mr. Ellis.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor, Council. Resolution number 3078 is the resolution to provide that 10-year service plan that I mentioned just a little bit earlier. This is a requirement to do an annexation. Basically talks about what services the city will provide, infrastructure that the city will provide. As we just discussed, as you know, and indicated in here, any water and sewer and road infrastructure is the responsibility of the private property owner. And again, they have that agreement with that state road running through the section of state trust land to get to their property. So that's already in place, not anything that we're going to have to worry about taking on. Police, fire, and ambulance services will go out there. We have been in contact with Verde Valley Ambulance. They have confirmed that they would respond to that area, as well as the city fire department and police department. And then any other city services that they are able to get by being in the city limits, planning services, building, code enforcement, any of those other services that we provide.
Council, any discussion? So quiet. All right. Then are there any members of the public out there that would like to comment on this item? Yes.
I just had a question. I think the contents of the resolution are very straightforward. It's very easy to understand. I thought we were approving, the resolution indicates a January 5th meeting date, and I believe we just heard, I wasn't aware that we may be pushing that back until the 19th. Would we need to, would the motion need to reflect that, or do you think it's I know.
Yes, I'd recommend you do that.
Mr. Bonk, if you can hear us, you are welcome to comment on resolution number 3078.
Yes, thank you. In regards to the 10-year service plan, I don't see any plan there. I see a list of services. I don't see a cost analysis. I don't see a risk analysis. I don't even know how you could do a risk analysis if you do not have the pre-annexation development agreement done. You don't know what's going to be out there. As far as the state land, there is a provision in that document for the common area, the right of way, that the state can cancel that right of way. I don't know if anybody saw that or not, but should Spring Creek Ranch never be developed, the state can cancel that, and the city will be responsible for that road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bonk. Would anyone like to? I see Steve feverishly looking on his computer. Are you going to? No, okay. Great. All right. All right, if there's nothing else, then I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion. I move to approve resolution number 3078, adopting an infrastructure and service plan for the Spring Creek Ranch annexation area.
Yeah, we need to make it clear that we'll be considering ordinance number 691 on the I believe it's the 19th of January. Would you like to amend your motion, sir, just to include that?
Would City Attorney, would you assist us here? Would it be appropriate to perhaps amend the motion to reflect approval of a revised resolution number 3078 to reflect an approval of number 691 on January 19, 2021?
I think that's perfectly appropriate. The reference to the dates in the recital, so as a matter of the legal effect of the resolution, I don't think it's controlling, but I think with that direction and this discussion on the record, we will correct the resolution before it's made a part of the public record.
I would second that motion.
Okay, so we had a motion by Councilmember Hulse and a second by Councilmember Henry. And if we could please take a roll call vote on this item.
Councilmember Henry?
Yes.
Councilmember Hulse?
Yes.
Councilmember Curot?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilden?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matthews?
Yes.
Mayor Alinsky?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. Can we please ask you to read resolution number 3078 by title only?
Resolution number 3078, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, approving a policy to provide appropriate levels of infrastructure and services to approximately 280 acres proposed to be annexed by the city of Cottonwood under ordinance number 691. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is ordinance number 689, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 407, landscaping requirements E, landscaping standards. This is the first reading. Evening.
Evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. You may have noticed a trend this year. We've been coming to you with a number of small zoning ordinance amendments designed to make it a little more flexible for development of parcels, especially smaller parcels that we see. We see parcels coming in and trying to develop commercial or multifamily uses on them and run into some small issues with the zoning code. So one of those issues is our landscaping code, which right now requires a 15-foot landscaping yard in the front yard along major streets, arterial streets and highways, and 10 feet along collector streets and other streets. That is, under current code, measured from the lot line into the property. What we're proposing is to give people the option of measuring that from the back of the sidewalk into the property, because the back of the sidewalk isn't always the lot line. In fact, it's kind of rarely the lot line. So we're proposing making that change to both that 15-foot for arterial streets and highways and to that 10 feet for collector streets. And an example we've got on the next slide is the Verizon store that's going in where the old Woody's was on South Main. We had a very tight situation there where there was about 7 feet of right-of-way behind the sidewalk, but we had to measure the landscaping strip 10 feet back from the lot line, not from the sidewalk. So between the parking and the drive lane requirement that we had, it was very tight to try and locate that building in there. So situations like that, from the street, it looks the same whether the lot line is at the back of the sidewalk or 7 feet in or whatever. So that's why we're proposing this. This went to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they unanimously recommended approval.
All right, any questions from council? Yes, sir.
So I think this is another good one coming out of Development Services. But the question being, so from the back of the sidewalk, there could be some amount of land that is still in the right-of-way that the tenant landowner is landscaping. If an entity comes along, government entity or ADOT or something, and has to do some work within that right-of-way, will they repair that landscaping back to the way it was at their expense?
This wouldn't change that situation one way or the other. It depends on the project, I think. I don't think I can speak broadly for every particular, every case coming in, but I think this wouldn't affect that.
Okay, because typically if somebody's got an easement, and like you put a fence up across it or something, and they come along to do work, they can just take it down and they're not going to restore it. So I'd just like to know that if somebody spends the money on that landscaping that goes into the right-of-way, this is all a great idea, that they're not going to be responsible for bringing it back to its current condition once any work is done.
Right, and that brings up another issue too, is that under this scenario, the developer of the Verizon store would be required to develop not only that 10 feet of landscaping strip, but also the 7 feet in the right-of-way. So some developers are required to develop 17 feet, some are required to develop 10. It's kind of an inequitable situation sometimes. So that's another issue that we're trying to resolve.
All right. Yeah, again, I think this is good work, trying to make it a little easier to get projects out of the ground and provide for uniformity in the way we address our landscaping. So thank you. Again, this is first reading, so I believe we're ready for you to bring it back for a second and final. Thank you, Mr. Davis. If we could have our clerk please read ordinance number 689 by title only.
Ordinance number 689, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 407, landscaping requirements, E, landscaping standards. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And another one, ordinance number 690, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 309, hillside development standards, H, slope development. Again, first reading.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is correcting what we believe to be a typographical error, Scrivener's error in the original hillside development ordinance of a situation where the maximum allowable disturbance area, the proportion of property that can be graded, is reduced with the slope. In other words, the more severe the slopes, the less percentage of the property can be graded. We've got an inconsistency in there where it goes from very flat slopes being just regular zoning provisions, and then in between 20 and 29%, the maximum disturbance area is 30%. And between 30 and 39% slopes, the maximum development goes up to 50%. We believe that was supposed to be 15%, and we're proposing to change that. Again, this went to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they recommended approval unanimously.
All right, makes sense. Any discussion? Glad somebody caught it. All right, hearing no discussion, I would recommend you bring it back for a second reading. And we could have our clerk please read ordinance number 690 by title only.
Ordinance number 690, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 309, hillside development standards, H, slope development. Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Okay, and then fifth item tonight on the agenda is the second amendment to the development agreement with the vineyards at Cottonwood, LLC.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. This is the Phase 2 final plat for the vineyards at Cottonwood. The site is located in the middle of the PAD zoning near Grosseto Ranch Road and 89A. Phase 1 has already been developed out of the overall PAD. Phase 1 is the area on Chateau Drive, just north of Grosseto Ranch Road. And Grosseto Ranch Road, there's the alignment that goes across. That's projected future alignment. And the next slide should show the previous master phasing plan. And the yellow area is phase 1. And then the second in blue was the original phase 2. And that has been changed to move it over slightly to where you see the yellow there. So this is the phase 2 plat that's being proposed tonight. And this is the revised master development plan that's coming in as a part of the amended development agreement. And again, this shows the phase 2 subdivision plat in yellow. And this is the subdivision plat right here, 21 lots on a little over 4 acres. And that's the area in yellow there. At the south end of the property there is a trail easement, and that's part of the overall trail easement system that was proposed in the original master development plan. This shows the location of where phase 2 is ending up, and then shows the location of the proposed trail that's stipulated in this approval to be completed west towards the roundabout at 89A, and east towards existing trails leading down into Old Town area. Proposed stipulations are in your packet. These are the ones that the Planning and Zoning Commission approved with the preliminary development plan, or excuse me, preliminary plat. This preliminary development plat went to Planning and Zoning Commission and the council not too long ago, and now the final plat is before you tonight. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
All right, do we have any questions for Mr. Davis? Any members of the public out there have any questions?
I believe we have the representative of the property owners online. Okay. If they want to make any comments.
All right. Are the...
Mr. Mayor, if I might, just to note, it looks like we may have taken this one, skipped over the amendment to the development agreement. So I think what Mr. Davis's presentation, which is pertinent to both items, but it went to is the item for your approval of the final plat for phase 2.
Right. We'll take them in order, but if the developer's on it, is he, or should we go ahead and motion first on the item 5?
It's your pleasure. I think Mr. Davis was speaking to the final plat when he mentioned the stipulations. Those are for approval of the final plat. Right. And there may be some other questions or discussion about the amendment to the DA.
Okay.
Apologize if I got ahead of things there a little bit, but this, as you say, does apply to both items.
I move to approve the proposed second amendment of the development agreement for the vineyards at Cottonwood, subject to approval of the final form of agreement by the city attorney.
Second.
All right, Vice Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Wilden seconded it. If we could have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Henry?
Yes.
Councilmember Halls?
Yes.
Councilmember Curot?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilden?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matthews?
Yes.
Mayor Linsky?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Very good. Thank you. All right, and then item 6, of course, is the final subdivision plat for the vineyards at Cottonwood, phase 2, which you went over. Nothing else to add there, but if the developer is on the line and would like to make any comments, you're more than welcome to, sir.
Hey, I appreciate that, guys. Mayor Linsky and Vice Mayor Matthews and council members, happy to answer any questions for this final plat. But you guys have been great, and we're looking forward to getting started on the second phase of a very popular product right now.
Very good. Do we have any questions, council? No, I think we're all just pleased to see this moving forward.
Thank you, sir.
All right, then I would go ahead and make a motion to approve the final plat for the vineyards at Cottonwood Phase 2, subject to the stipulations approved by the City Council. I believe that's the by the City Council on October 20th, 2020 for the preliminary plat, correct? All right, Mayor made the motion, Vice Mayor seconded it. Roll call vote again, please.
Councilmember Henry,
Yes.
Councilmember Halls,
Yes.
Councilmember Curott,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilden,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Matthews,
Yes.
Mayor Linsky.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you. All right, that's it for the fun stuff. I would motion that we pay the claims and adjustments.
Second.
All right, Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Henry seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, I move to adjourn.
Second.
Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Holst seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you, council.